back this week, and my voice is a little bit better, Rebecca, than it was last
A
week.
little bit.
It's a
A
little
little
bit better,
bit.
yes. But
But we weren't on last week. We were on the week
we
before.
were on the week before, so I've had about 2 weeks for my voice to kind of come back a little bit. But thank you guys so much for joining us. I am so happy to be back because we've got one of our good friends in the house who is always so gracious about coming in and sharing his story and sharing his journey and letting and reminding us of what can be if you want it to be, if you will it to be. And our producer saying, "Get that mic in front of you, Crystal." Okay, but
For my
without
house.
any further ado, if you guys know this gentleman, you've seen him many times here. We have got Damian Walker from Cognitive Justice. Let's give him. Let's give him that.
Woo! This is our applause track.
That's right.
We
That's
cheat.
right. We're gonna get an applause. We're gonna get an applause track in here. But Damien,
Yes,
Damien,
Crystal.
we haven't seen you in a year.
It's been about a year.
Yay.
It is about a year. Damien, you have got so much, so many irons in the fire.
Yeah.
I don't know when you sleep, but I'm gonna.
Night.
That's good. You make that time.
Yes.
That's right. But I want you to kind of give us an idea of some of the things that have been going on with your organization, Cognitive Justice. But before you do that, I would love for you to introduce us to our guest to the right.
We got my guy Brian Young, man. Been working with Brian for a few years now, man.
Okay.
Just a
Hi, Brian.
strong
Hey,
community
Brian.
brother, man. Focused and fearless, man. Because we in the trenches, man. Brian and I in the trenches, man. That's where we come from.
Yeah,
That's what we're going right back to, man. Pulling people out.
that's awesome, and that's what
So
that's what you got to do.
Just in
Yeah.
case our audience don't know what the trenches mean, because
Okay.
we might have some people that don't know what
They
the
don't
trenches
know what the
mean.
trenches mean.
Yeah, we have all kind of people watching us
Okay,
now.
That's
so
right.
Okay.
Explain it.
So basically, the trenches is what we refer to for those of us that come from hard times, come from the streets. The trenches is, man, those tough areas, man, where people don't want to go, where we kind of pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, or we end up coming out the trenches, going to prison, then getting out, and doing things. So
Yeah.
trenches are those hard times where out the mud, as they say, just those difficult times, and that's where we kind of come from, and now we are thankful for where we are now.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
I told just I want to give this disclaimer because
Yeah.
I said this to Damien when I talked to him this afternoon. Well, this morning,
Mhm.
between this morning and this
Today.
afternoon.
Yeah.
I said, Damien, I am going to ask you to give us your background again because it's so remarkable, and people need to hear that.
Mhm.
Especially in this day and time when we hear so much negativity
Yes,
out there
negativity.
about what happens when someone may take a misstep in life,
Yeah.
and the different ways that we can build more facilities for incarceration and all this kind of thing. But I want you to kind of back up. Let's back up a few steps
Okay.
and kind of tell us how you got here.
Thank you. After
Yeah.
you hear mine, you're gonna love Brian.
I can't wait to hear Brian's. You told me this
Yeah,
afternoon
yeah,
that
I'll
we
tell you
got to
that
hear
story, too.
Brian. Yes.
So basically, short version is always I got incarcerated at the age of 16. Was certified as an adult, was labeled a super predator back in 93,
Ooh.
94. Did not even know I was labeled a super predator until I was 40, because there was no, you don't get the research that's done on you. You just are treated as such, right? So got certified.
But that was
as
in
an
your
adult.
file.
Yeah,
That was in your file, basically.
and we never knew. We never knew
A
why they was
super
treating
predator.
us like that.
16-year-old super predator.
Yeah, so that was some research that was done, and they, the government and the outgoing president was a part of that, accepted it. We received some hard sentences back in the 90s, the Hard Sentencing Act.
Right.
Certified as an adult, uh, did not do 4 of the aggravated robberies that I was accused of, but Houston at this time was the plea capital of the nation because our district attorney Johnny Holmes.
Right.
So I
remember
played
Johnny
out
Holmes. Yes.
to 5 25-year sentences run concurrent. And after those 5 25-year sentences, I was 17. So from the time I was arrested to the time I actually got to prison, TDC was right at a year, right less than a year, right above a year. Got
Wow.
to TDC at 17, went through that process of adjusting. Was once at what they say is one of the worst prisons in Texas, John B. County Unit. Thought I was gonna die because of the stuff that I saw. Knew I was gonna die, not thought. Knew I was gonna die Grace of God, got shipped to one of the easiest prisons, um, and was still acting like I was at the bad place. So I'm at a better place,
Okay.
but acting like I'm at the bad place. Got a degree, changed, joined the church, and went through
Wow.
that process of joining Toastmasters. Was released,
Right.
graduated from the University of Houston, sold cars, made a bunch of money. Now I work after working at the Harris County Public Defender's Office and also the Harris County Public Health Department.
Okay.
I end up now working for a national nonprofit where I travel the country,
Wow.
training local governments and community-based organizations on methods of violence reduction.
Yeah.
And a little bit before that, I started my own nonprofit, Cogitive
Right.
Just International.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say that from the age of 16, you put your track shoes on and you haven't stopped. You haven't even
Haven't
looked
stopped.
back.
Haven't stopped.
And some of it was of your own volition,
Yeah.
and some of it you just found yourself
From myself,
in these
yeah.
in these situations.
Thank you.
But thank goodness that nothing happens in a vacuum.
Mhm.
There are always people around us who see um, the potential of what we could be. When
Even
you were
when you don't
sitting
see it in yourself, that's the main thing. Because after
yes,
17 years of incarceration, I didn't know what life had for me.
that's right.
So the goal was for me, because I was a kid when I went in, I didn't have a lot
Right.
of experiences. So the goal was to mainly come out and just take my time, take some breaths, breathe and adjust as best as possible. And I think that's where my success came from. I didn't really rush a lot of stuff.
Oh, that's good. And Damien, I want you, before we segue into Brian's story, I want you to tell us a little bit about what cognitive justice is. And you are out there in the community in so many other ways, especially trying to get into our neighborhoods
Yeah.
and impact the young people before they make a decision that may land them in prison. You're trying to get there beforehand.
Yes.
And you do it just because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that just because now seeing that nobody was there, we didn't have the mentors back then. I'm sure they were there, but they weren't in our communities.
Right.
They didn't come to our communities. So
They did
the
not.
goal is to meet people where they're at. Again, we're saying the trenches, but we don't always want to glorify the bad words. But the underserved communities, right, and their
Yes.
parents. So we work with the parents, we work with the schools, anybody that is willing to work with us. And the goal is to make sure that we can go in and work on a mindset change.
Yes.
We do a lot of trainings at Cognitive Justice. We train staff of agencies.
Right.
We train, the biggest thing I've ever done as far as training is the Louisiana Supreme Court. We also will do free trainings in the community, which we're going to do at the beginning of January next year. And those trainings are based around changing the mindset of the underserved population, letting them know that, hey, you have the power to bring yourself out of these situations. But sometimes, again, you just got to slow it down, or you got to connect to the right people. Now, as you guys know, there are a lot of organizations, not just Cognitive Justice, there are a lot of organizations out there that are willing to assist people who want to make those changes. And we're just one of those conduits.
And you know what, Damien, you just said a very key word. When you are out there in the trenches, when y'all are out there and you're seeing the six, I'm gonna back it down, 13, 14, on up, because that's the age group that I teach.
Some of them younger than that.
Some of them younger than that, but the age group I teach, and by the time they hit that age, many of them have seen a lot, and they already have an idea of what they want to project to the world. And it's not always a positive thing. When you all get out there and you are interacting with these young men and women, is it difficult to break down those walls? And I'm going to direct that over to Brian, because Brian, you shaking your head over there like, have I seen it? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you have lived and some of the things that you've seen, and if you think that you all are making the impact that you want to make. Tell it.
First of all, before I say anything, I want people to know that I was raised by I had good family.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say that my upbringing was home. I'm the side of the story that can say I had angels, I had good
Wow.
And
Starting at what age, Brian?
starting at 15.
Okay.
And a lot of that was because of the trauma of my childhood. I didn't even know that I was facing it.
Right.
I was facing a lot of childhood trauma that a lot of young kids these days don't even know that they may be dealing with something through a generational curse.
Hmm.
So, 18 times I went to juvenile, they kept sending me back to my mom or whatever. I went to youth building, I went to boys home, I went to TYC twice, I went to boot camp, then finally at 18, I was sent for 45 years to CCJ,
Wow.
and I did 25 and a half, and I never came back when I was 28.
Okay.
So, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And even though me and Daniel, we knew a lot of people, we never ran across each other
Okay.
until I actually started working for Harris County.
Right.
And then when I started working for Harris County, me and Daniel, we made him, he was tough. He was tough. But he was older.
Right.
And he saw a lot of things that I didn't see, and I still had the mentality of a child growing up
In the system, yeah.
So, and my defense for that, when you say that there's 13, 14-year-olds,
Mhm.
the 13 and 14-year-olds, we can kind of see where they headed because we've been in those situations.
Right.
And once we start actually talking to them and identifying with their similar situation that they may be going through in life, they automatically grasp to us because they actually can tell that, hey, I know you know what you're talking about. I had some people when I was working in Harris County that, they got degrees or whatever, they were like, how could you go and get people to be a certain way that we can't? And they've been trained for this.
Right.
I've got trained for it too. I learned how to organize myself in dealing with people in the streets,
Right.
but also I have self talk.
Mhm.
My experience. Childhood experience.
Yeah.
So my childhood experiences helped me to relate to the 13, 14 years. One of the most beautiful things we did was we had to go to work.
Worthing High School.
Yeah.
Yes, that's Rebecca's alma mater.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We had to sit down in front of a bunch of kids and we had to create a role to where they was the kids and we was the adults. Like, okay, when I left at 18, my baby mom was pregnant, and so my daughter was still in the
Hey.
womb. And, one of the girls at the school, she was like, well, Daddy, why you left me?
Right.
Whoa.
And I haven't had the conversation with my own daughter.
Yeah.
So when she asked me that, even though we played a role, I broke down crying.
Of course.
Because I was like,
Because you saw your daughter.
yeah, I saw my daughter.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I was like, you asked me something, I ain't even got a chance to, talk to her.
Right.
So dealing with that, it's, a lot of people want to do something for the kids,
Right.
but when we come to the kids, we come with our hearts,
That's right.
and they feel what we feel. So they understand how we understand because, and like you said, 13, 14, I don't know how I got into this, maybe God or whatever, but, I wouldn't have got my high, girl that I like in hospital.
Right.
I didn't know she had a lot of kids,
Mhm.
but she ended up having a lot of kids, so we ended up getting married. Shout out to my wife, she had a long time.
Hmm.
Hi, Timra.
But this is crazy because one of her kids' daddy was on death row.
Wow.
And he had just got out of juvenile. And then he had another, he was headed back and they gave him a court-appointed lawyer. And I knew that the court-appointed lawyer wasn't for him.
Right.
The court-appointed lawyer tried to get him to sign for something. And I told him, if you didn't do it, just straight up be real, just say you didn't do it. Don't
Right.
sign for me.
Right.
Just to get a shorter sentence.
Right.
But anyway, he ended up beating the case because he really didn't do it.
Good.
But since then, through Sir Jobs and through the help of Damon,
Mhm.
Damon trained me a lot. We was able to get him in welding. He was supposed to finish high school, but he didn't.
That's
Now
awesome.
he did finish high school, but he didn't pursue nothing after that.
Right.
So we got him into Sir Jobs. He just graduated welding. He got his first
Oh,
car.
good job.
He
it's a bunch of good kids out there that don't know that they good kids.
They don't have any direction.
That they don't have a direction,
Yeah.
and that's where we come in at. Just being a real big brother, not big brother that was appointed from the court or whatever.
Right. Right.
No, becoming a real big brother actually. And I point Damon to Damon spend more time with people than I do.
Yeah.
But Damon, like you said, I don't know where he sleeps, but he constantly check on people. He constantly make sure people are right, and he constantly do for everybody.
Yeah.
His wife, I'm pretty sure his wife, like my wife, they can get a little jealous of how we intervene.
Spend time in the community. Yeah.
Because we live for the community.
Right.
We did time.
Yeah.
So making sure that we same one and same two, and they don't go right the route that we went.
Yeah.
Then we did our job. That's all. Somebody just trying to make sure that we instill in those what was instilled in us.
Well, I want to ask both of you this because this is something that I know a lot of people will probably have a question about, and a lot of people who have not walked in those shoes will probably question. And Damien, you've spoken on this before. You see people, you don't judge someone when you get out there and you're trying to help someone and you are bending over backwards and then you see them go back.
Yeah.
And it's got to be frustrating, but just like Brian said, he went in several times before it was, he was able to say, wait a minute, I want something different. How do you, what makes you continue to go back once you see that people, that it seems like what you're saying is not resonating immediately?
Yeah. Sometimes it's knowing that a person will have their process.
Yeah.
You can't rush their process. You
Right.
understand what'll happen once they commit, but they have a process. Had a kid, same one from Worthing, he had gotten a bunch of trouble. He texted me. I can show you the text. Man, I'm done. Miss Damon, I'm done. And I say, okay, I'll be here, for you when you come back. 3 days later,
Wow.
he's back. And he's one of the kids, one of our first kids that graduated from Weldon.
Wow.
Chit chat with him for a long time today, right? And so that process, but recently, I think if we can put on a more clinical term,
Yes.
I'm biased. We all have biases. We all have prejudices.
Right.
We all look at things a certain way. So I had to rid myself of my biases.
Okay.
Meaning that my bias was I pulled myself out the trenches.
Right.
I went to college in prison, which is not easy, and got a degree.
Right.
I went to college when I came home. Right. I
Right.
worked 60 hours a week selling cars. Why can't you do it? So when I realized that, man, everybody doesn't have your mindset, or everybody didn't catch on when you catch on,
Right.
then I was able to be a lot more impartial and understanding, and get rid of those biases.
Right.
Right.
Those biases are very important to be rid
So a
of.
group of
Yes.
teachers and I were talking about kids like
Mhm.
that, and one of the things I had to stress to them was that you have some children that are intrinsically motivated.
Mhm.
They're going to make it
Yeah.
regardless.
Mhm.
Of what-
I don't
that's
care
right.
what hurdle they cross.
Mhm.
I don't care what, because they just have a ingrained self determination to make it. Every child does not have it.
Every child does not have that.
So when you talk about that, you talk about from your perspective, you had that intrinsic motivation to continue to work and do what you need to do. But then you got people.
That's what I was gonna say too. Is also the external, like Brian was saying, like I assisted him. Somebody assisted me,
Right.
right? So since somebody assisted me, then as the movie says, you pay it forward.
Yes.
So when you have, I just taught a class on that. I'm finishing up tomorrow, right? The
Mhm.
intrinsic and extrinsic
Intrinsic
motivation.
Yes.
So you have to figure out what intrinsic motivation is there through an assessment or something, right? And we do an
Yes.
assessment at cognitive justice. But then you come back and you got Henry Sims on here, right?
Right.
Who is at Provision,
Right.
that does and recognize, because he's a coach, he's going to recognize that external,
Right.
extrinsic motivation,
Right.
and he's going to scream at you. He's going to make you practice until you catch your
Right.
gear, right? So sometimes we have to be the external motivation for somebody.
Damien, I'm going to ask you this because Rebecca and I find ourselves sitting in this position many times. I'm one of the first ones that the young men and women who may eventually go into the system and counter
Mhm.
in a way, a way of by means of authority.
Mhm.
I'm a teacher in the classroom,
Mhm.
and I question myself, and I have to stop myself from doing this sometimes, guys, because it is what normally happens. I see a kid and I recognize certain behaviors, and I say
Yeah.
he's going to end up
Mhm.
there. He's gonna end up there. I know he's gonna, and I want to stop myself from doing that.
And you don't
Be-
want to do
You
it.
you
You
don't want to
definitely
do
want to
it.
do it, but when you are seeing
Behaviors.
behaviors and actions that are contrary,
Mhm.
Yeah, and pulling
yeah,
the student away. There's one young man who was in my class today, and he is. Let me say that this young man has a heart of gold. He's not a bad kid at all. He's never a disrespectful kid,
Mhm.
but he is in trouble all the time. He has a learning disability, and I know that that is one of the reasons
Mhm.
that he is being the class clown, and he stays in trouble because he doesn't want the light shined on the fact that he may not be where his peers are academically. But you know, in the school where I am, in middle schools, many times we have a tendency to
Mhm.
coddle these kids, and that's not necessarily the best solution because as soon as they hit high school, people see them in a different way. They see them in more of an adult way, and they start driving and interacting on adult levels in many ways, and they interact with the police. Now, the same thing that these kids are doing in the school where we've coddled them and said, stop that, don't do that, you know, um, out there in the street, Damien, they're not going to do that. Police are not going to do that.
I don't think your job. I've learned, and then Brian can speak to this one too. I've learned that it's not really because you're a part of a system. HISD, whatever school, you're a part of a system, and the system wasn't there for long term progress. You got to make sure in the system that attendance is taken so you can get your funds right. You got to make sure that free lunch come in. Somebody come from somewhere else and take over HISD. So it's a part of
I
to
don't
me
want to
for,
be part of the system.
but that's your employment. That's where your retirement is, and that's
But I
understandable.
have a heart for these kids,
So
and I
this is
don't.
what I'm saying right here.
but I think that's what Damien's saying.
Yeah, yeah,
The system is not really set up
yeah.
to have a heart for these children.
But because you care so much,
Yes.
what's
Yeah.
going to eventually happen is a guy told me this here before I left our guard. We were at the church, and
Mhm.
he said, "Why do y'all come down here?" He was so agitated. He said, "Why are y'all down here? Why are y'all doing this?" And this was the first time this question was ever posed to me.
Mhm.
And this was the first time I've answered this question. I say, because at some point when some of these people get out, they gonna lose it, or there's some people here that already lost it. And it's good to have something in that person so when they come to their senses, they're not gonna continue to go down that route.
But isn't that guard a part of the system?
The God is. However, the stuff that you're doing, imparting them and carrying them. Miss Johnson was my fifth grade teacher. Still remember to this
Still
day.
remember her.
So the things that she imparted in me in
Mhm.
1989, I
Mhm.
still remember in 2000 going
Yeah.
into
I was
2025.
6.
Yeah.
So because at some point you impart something, you pour something into somebody, that's where you can be beneficial in your role. And don't condemn yourself. Don't condemn yourself. I'm sure there were good people in Brian's life too that did certain things like that as well.
Yeah.
Brian has something he wanted to say.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, when I was young, I did have a mentor
Mm.
from the and for each individual, one of the two things that my mom told me is that she said, "Y'all are going to future."
Right.
So I mean, we can see nowadays how a kid is. We can do whatever we can for that kid, but it's still the kid has responsibility too. And a lot of things that we see in there, sometimes we have to speak up because I'm just gonna bring it to a situation where we was on the block
Mhm.
and Damien was sitting in his car. And we just typically doing what we do for our job.
Right.
But Damien saw something different. And a couple of days later when we were supposed to go on the block, Damien said, "No, I felt something that day and I don't want y'all to go on the block today.
Wow.
And at the same when he told us that 30 minutes later, a young man got shot 70 some times. So
On the block where y'all had
on
been.
the block where we was supposed to be at,
70 times?
70 times. Just no exaggeration.
Wow.
70 times.
Good grief.
So a lot of times, like to bring it back to the kids in the school, sometimes when you see something, you have to say something. You know, even though you might catch yourself sometimes, but sometimes it's important to pull that kid to the side and address whatever you might be seeing.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to speak to that because I had a kid to tell me I don't because I would get on him about being disrespectful and about not doing my work and all this. And he flat out told me, I'm going to jail anyway.
Mhm.
Like, I know none of this is going to apply to me because I'm on the street. So eventually I'm going to be dead in jail anyway. So, like, it was already set in his mind that he was going to jail. Now, when I talked to him and we had sidebar conversations during my planning period, you know I have to leave. So during my planning period, just trying to figure out what was going on with him. And I found out that he had all of his childhood trauma.
Mhm.
I found out that uncles and daddies and grandpa was all in jail. So he just knew, yeah,
Next.
he was next. But I explained to him, look, I know you don't do my work, but you're a very smart guy. The responses that you give, you don't give a response like a 13-year-old child.
Right.
You could do so much more. And he told me nobody had ever told me.
So I can attest that in the situation. I remember at 15, I had been selling drugs since 13, 14.
Mhm.
I'm from West Airport, right? Greenhouse
Mhm.
Patio, 6363 West Airport. And I'm walking down, and I'm still like that to this day. I will be by myself for 3, 4 days, and I will be okay, still to this day, right? And so I could be in the house with a bunch of people, and I'm by myself.
Right.
I was walking down West Airport in front of the apartments, and in my head, don't know where it came from, but I'm already selling drugs. And I told myself, I'm going to jail. I knew I was going to jail, but I told myself, man, I'm gonna retire at 30 because I'm gonna start selling keys. I'm selling rocks at the time
Okay.
because of the people that I saw around me. I said,
Okay.
I said, at 30, I don't even know what retirement is. I heard it somewhere, but I say at 30, I'm going to retire because I'm going to start selling keys.
And tell me what that is.
Keys are kilos of cocaine.
Got you.
Yeah, because
you.
there were people in my neighborhood that I knew that was doing certain things.
And making this amount of money.
Exactly.
Yes.
So going back to what you said, Rebecca, too, is the fact of at some point I came to my senses, even after being in prison. Right before I got incarcerated, I said, man, I went and got all my books. I went and bought a backpack. I got money. I'm making more money than my mama. I went and bought a backpack and got all my books. I say, man, I'm a study, but I'm expelled. I can't go back to school until 1994, right?
Wow.
So at some point, the stuff that was put into me by my grandparents, by my uncles,
Right.
like B said, what ended up happening was I caught my snap, but it was too late. I was already sliding. I had 16 felonies at 16. So
Stop. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Can you put that many felonies on a child?
Wait a minute.
yeah, more than that.
Okay, hold on. Now.
But no, seriously, you can put that many felonies on a child.
Well, because if you do it, that's what's going to end up happening. So I had a high speed chase, and I got 11 felonies from high speed chase. Got beat by the law, so 11 felonies.
16.
And then at 16, and then it was a high speed. I didn't steal a car. Brian homeboy stole a car, which is my homeboy, right?
Yeah.
So I took the car from him. I was scared, so I
Okay.
would not steal a car. But if somebody stole it in the neighborhood, I was gonna steal it from them, right? Because I know where they parked it at. I hated I hated
Wow.
stealing stuff. And then when I got arrested, I got the 4 aggravated robberies and the burglary of habitation. I didn't do the aggravated robberies, but I did the burglary of habitation.
Okay.
So at 16, I had 16 felonies, but you can only see 5 of them because the 11 are when I was a juvenile.
But that's what I was getting ready to say. At 16, you're not even considered grown in the state of Texas till you're 17.
It's Texas though. But it's Texas
How are you putting 16 felonies?
because
Well,
it's crime.
The felony has nothing to do with the age. It has to do with the type of crime.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's crime,
And you just happen to be.
So you can put 16 charges on a minor like that? I'm sorry, y'all.
Put
I'm
20
sorry.
something.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
Like back in those days, you could get burglaries from the area.
Yeah.
a certain group of people was robbing all these people. You could get all these put on.
Hmm.
I got picked out of the lineup and I was locked up.
What?
Yeah, I got picked up for aggravated robbery, but I was already knocked up for aggravated robbery.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
So you
Wait a
shouldn't have.
minute.
So
Wait a
so you
minute.
didn't do it.
Yeah,
Explain
I
this.
did it, but I'm just saying that's how you have so many people that automatically assume that because you do certain things that you
That
did.
you're involved.
Oh,
So when the
okay.
police go around and they show them the mugshot of people,
Yeah, your
they already
reputation
know that.
precedes
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah, he did. This is one right here because and just so happened when they tried at that time, I was already locked up.
But let's say this too
Good
before you ask the
grief.
next question. So in law enforcement, it's called the clearance rate. So let's bring it to what it is. It's called the clearance rate. So law enforcement, they don't clear a lot of the crimes. Their goal is to make sure that they solve the crime, right? But there are a lot of
That's what
crimes
we're
that go
told.
unsolved.
Right.
And
That's why HPD is in the shaky scene.
I have a number, but I'm not going to say that number because I don't know
Mhm.
where it said right now how many crimes
Right.
they actually solved.
Okay.
So just like me, they put 4 aggravated robberies on me. I've never robbed a person a day in my life with a gun. Now, did I know who was possibly doing it? Yeah. But the clearance rate is so low that they just look to put those cases on people, especially
Wait
back
a
in the
minute.
90s in Harris County.
That's the first time I've ever heard anything
Yeah.
like that. I didn't know that if you were one of the, is that what they mean by saying the usual suspects?
Usual suspects.
So they can charge you with the crime, and you may be in Los Angeles at the time.
Yeah.
But if you're a usual suspect, you can get that pinned on you.
Yeah, often.
That's and that's legal.
It's not legal, but it's the law. It's what happens in our justice system. Our justice system was not made to support justice. Our justice system, in my experience, has been there to progress and make sure that they know that some sort of public safety is happening. And by taking certain people off the street, public safety isn't just taking the usual suspect off the street, but that's what the system usually does. Is take
But
the
your
usual suspect
job
off the
is
street.
to investigate the crime
And find the
and
person
right.
responsible.
But that's investigation. So if I'm doing, that's a part of my. That's what I keep
Crystal,
paying for.
Crystal love Texas. Y'all should do a show with law enforcement and possibly figure out what is the clearance rate for crimes in Houston and also Harris County.
Y'all heard that?
Yeah.
You heard that? Now I'm wondering if we would get any
Of course not.
part of law enforcement to actually come. Well, we have a new mayor,
Yeah.
that's part of what he's trying to do. We don't know that is not, but because we have a new mayor and because we have a fresh set of eyes right now, I want everybody out there who watches our show live and the thousands of people who go in and watch it later to be able to see a face like Brian and to see a face like Damien and know that at the other end something positive can happen.
Mm.
So Damien, tell us a little bit about cognitive justice and what cognitive justice is doing right now. And I know one thing that you all do that I absolutely loved the last time you came,
Yeah.
you all teamed up with SARE
Yeah.
to SARE Jobs
SARE
for
Jobs.
Progress.
Yeah.
Yes, to offer different types of training to people who were maybe in a situation whereby it was difficult for them to be able to go in and get training and especially pay for it. What are you still with that, and what's going on with that?
Yes, Brian and I actually contracted with them to be able to recruit 18 to 24-year-old justice impacted youth.
Okay.
So this year alone, I think we recruited around 60, maybe 70.
That's awesome.
That's
25,
awesome. That's
That is
so
awesome.
25,
good.
30 maybe graduated between welding, CDL, construction, White House forklift.
That's
Plumbing.
that's half.
Yeah.
That's
so,
a big. That's big. Yes.
GED class. Actually,
good.
Tamara's son
Yes.
graduated welding.
That's awesome.
And so, but it's more to it than that because we have the youth, and we call them youth, and we call them kids or whatever. But we have this group that we assisted in signing them up for a class. But it's about making sure that they get to the class, making sure when they don't go to class that the caseworker is going to call you. And
See
when
what
the
happens,
caseworker
yes.
calls you, you got to call them. And because you are good with them, you say, man, get your ass up and go to school.
That's right. That's right.
Or
Yeah.
you send them some money.
Yeah.
Or they gonna request, they gonna say, hey man, I need $30 for a wedding heaven. You got doggone right, I'm gonna see you $30 for this
That's
wedding
right.
heaven, right?
That's right.
So being able to do that, but on top of that, what ended up happening was we ended up establishing these things called peace pop-ups. This is cognitive justice.
Yes.
We established the peace pop-up. So we got these youth, and the youth actually come out to the peace pop-ups, right?
What is the peace pop up?
Peace pop-up stands for peace pop-up is protecting our people, uplifting peace. So
Wow.
it's something that we created to go out to the communities. Acres Home was the first one, Sunnyside, Home Clark. We had the council the ones that we had for December, but we moved those to
To
next
the new
year.
year. Yes.
So next year we have Fifth Ward, Plan, Blue Cloud right here, the veteran housing in Third Ward by the Metro Center.
Yes.
So we
yes.
have that one planned and a few more. But the goal is to make sure that
y'all
we,
deep in the trenches.
yeah, we did, yeah.
Yes.
But the goal is to make sure that it's a civic engagement. It's not just an event.
Right.
It's not come get free food, free T-shirts.
Right.
It's for us to identify people in the community that want to learn more about protecting their community. So we train them. We identify. So next year, at the beginning of the year, we're going to train these 15, 20, 30 people. OG1 is one of the people that's going to come along with us.
Mhm.
We're going to train these people, and then we're going to teach them how to bring peace to their community, right?
And the thing about it is, with what you all are doing in Sayre, in your pop-ups going out, you all are arresting the cycle of people wanting to sell drugs to get ahead. Everything that you all have talked about, someone could start welding, and they can start a welding company. They can start doing
Yeah.
different things. You all do plumbing.
Plumbing, yep.
What are some of the other things?
Plumbing,
AC?
welding, electrical, AC,
HVAC.
HVAC,
HVAC,
CDL. But the goal is this. So I want to bring it back because we work in something. We were training something called CVI, Community Violence Intervention, by Dr. Chico Tillman and Marcus McAllister, national trainers, right? So we work in CVI when Preston was working with us too, right?
Yes.
So we work in CVI. CVI's goal is to deal with the highest risk individual
Wow.
that is there to perpetuate violence or have violence committed against them.
How do you vet these people?
So watch this as I turn it over to Brian.
Okay.
The goal, hold on, but I want to
How
finish.
do y'all find them?
The goal is to do this because you said stopping them from selling drugs.
Yes.
It'll sound bad until you're able to see the results. Our
Okay.
goal is not to stop them from selling drugs.
Okay.
Our goal is to make sure that they don't kill nobody because when one murder happens and in retaliation,
Wait.
Yes.
Stop.
okay,
Stop.
because Brian gonna paint the picture for you.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Maybe I need to
I
hear-
want you to ask the question.
Let's
To
hear
it.
Brian's
No,
first.
I want you to ask the question. Let's go ahead and ask the question.
You don't want them to stop
The
selling drugs
reason
to the
that
community?
the reason that you're not stopping a person from their hustle, as bad as it is,
Mhm.
as bad as it can be,
It's illegal.
because what
And it puts
happens
their lives
is
in danger.
if I take the drugs out their hand and I don't have the resource to put them in, and they're
Yeah.
not ready for the resource,
Yeah.
So what I have to do, I have to build trust. I have to maybe go and help their mother, or I have to maybe go and help their sister, which Brian is an expert at.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go and help somebody that can see now that their family trusts me, or now that their neighborhood trusts me. And when I pull up in that car, just like the guy that got shot 75 times, because as I turn over to Brian said, if we get this guy right here, we got the whole neighborhood.
The shooter.
The person that got shot and the shooters now.
Okay.
But I'm talking about in that incident.
I need him to paint this picture.
Yeah, paint the
I'm
picture.
so
See?
confused.
Let me show you how this happens. So this person just shot, right?
Yeah.
He got shot. But we put to the pastor to the funeral. After the funeral, we recognize some of the shooters. That's gonna do the retaliation. Stop the retaliation.
They came to the funeral.
Yeah, they came. Oh, they came with mad. They came in their mad. They came
Ski
in
mask.
their mad, yeah. But they let them go. The police and everything. They say that to them. Let them have fun. Let them smoke weed outside. Everything.
Outside the church.
You know, this is how you.
My God.
This is how you change the mindset.
A
of
cycle. Yeah.
people. You don't try to tell them what's right or wrong.
Right.
You give them an outlet
An option.
from
That's
going
right.
right or wrong.
Right.
So I the person that got shot, we tried to talk to him, but we couldn't get him, but we got a shooter, right?
Wait, stop. The person who got shot 70 times
Yeah.
was able to talk and
No,
speak.
no, 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 no.
Before.
Because they had the relationship
Oh,
before.
oh,
We had the
Yeah.
relationship before.
Had the
that
relationship
person
before.
died, right?
Yes.
That person
Okay.
died. Let me show you how
He
it
didn't
works.
survive.
So
I was gonna say
at the funeral,
I'm trying to
he
keep
met
up.
one of his friends that was a shooter. He, he ended up joining church. He ended up working for CDI, and right now he's a supervisor.
He was
Oh,
ready.
wow.
He was ready.
So
I,
check it out. Also at the funeral, the dude that got killed, his nieces was there.
Right.
So this is on the north side.
Okay.
The nieces recognized the shirts we had on the south side when we went to work. Their mama came up there and she was getting ready to take them out of school. But when she said
Forgot
that
about
we
that.
was at the school, she said, "You know what? I remember these guys from all the way
Her
on this
brother's
side
funeral.
of town.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my kids in school because I know these people gonna help."
And watch this here.
wait, pull him out of school like you
She was
not
They
gonna
were
going to
transfer
afraid.
them.
She
She-
was
Oh,
afraid
she
for
was
their
gonna
lives.
transfer.
She was afraid to.
So watch this. I can pull up a picture on my phone. I didn't tell you this, B. I can pull up a picture on my phone right now. We were at Worthing with Tanisha Manning not too long ago, engaged voters.
Mhm.
And so I picked up the phone. I called the mom. I don't say her name. I
Mhm.
called the mom. I'm like, where y'all at? We up here right now. And
Mhm.
she say her daughter was one of her daughters up there, which is twins. She said they up there right now, getting ready to go. I got the daughter's phone. I have his niece's phone number because we helped them through some funds that we raised. We
Mhm.
helped them go to family reunions, but we also helped buy chili uniforms.
Right.
We helped raise money.
Right.
So I picked up the phone. I said, "Man, what you doing, man?
But
Come out
y'all
here."
shouldn't have
She
to.
came
do it, but
after the
that's
show.
another
I'm
story
gonna
for a
show you.
different day.
She came out there and took a picture with us in her chili uniform. We
Wow.
met her in the 10th grade. She's graduating this year.
Wow.
We still in contact with them.
Wow.
Though we don't work there no more.
Yeah.
So we call them meaningful relationships.
Ooh,
That's,
yeah,
that's
We create
Yeah.
meaningful relationships.
yeah,
We start.
You
from
have to because they gotta
something that-
trust you.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. This something is this. I know you're a shooter, right? I know you're a hard hitter. I'm offer you some water. The water strikes up the conversation.
right. Right.
You see, I offered you something that ain't got nothing to do with what you got going on,
Mhm.
but it causes a conversation.
Mhm.
And once we have a conversation, I'm able to, through the resources that I got, I'm able to maybe offer you something I'm not doing to see you. Or if I can with you, maybe I can get to your sister, or maybe I
Right.
can get to your mama, or maybe I can get to your brother. Don't you deny me because you don't want it. Let somebody else get to it.
Okay, so let me ask y'all guys a question. When y'all approaching these children, have y'all ever had a situation where the guys or the kids, I'm not because it could be guys or girls, where they tell you, "I don't want your help."
All the time. Yeah. All the time. What you do is you respect it.
Mhm.
Because how many people have messed over them? How many people they have they had to build trust?
Yeah.
How many people in their family has abused them? And so somebody on the outside coming to be able to say that we want to assist you, you got to be consistent.
Right.
I would always tell Brian and the whole team. Brian had this one young person he was working with, and Brian always talked about him and had him in the reports. And Brian got agitated with the person because they wasn't going to the level, they wasn't progressing at the time. And so this is when we came up with this particular topic. We would always say, you are probably the third most important person in life. You just met this person 2 months ago,
Mhm.
but because you're with this person and trying to assist them, and they're calling you to seek assistance, you're probably the third, fourth most important person in their life.
Trust.
you just
Trust has
walk-
been built.
So once you build trust, it's imperative that we don't break the trust.
Right.
We can't break it. We can't.
So
break
when they give y'all this attitude, and maybe you just answered it, and I just wasn't understanding, but when they give you this attitude, what is like what is y'all first like thought
Initial
process?
response.
Yeah.
I believe in people with time.
You just kind of back off.
I'm not going to match your attitude. If you know that, don't get me wrong, I have.
He was like, "Let me bring that back. Let me bring that back."
Let me say something that you're not going to do. You're not going to make me feel like I don't know what you're going through. You know,
When you for sure know it.
prime
Yes.
example, in the penitentiary, it was an 18-year-old from my neighborhood. He's
Right.
18, I'm 30 something.
Right.
We watched a football game,
Right.
and I wanted to go talk to him. He's from my neighborhood.
Right.
And he told me, he said, you don't know telling you, whatever you went through, we both got on like
That's
we both got the same bench, we
Yeah.
both watch the same TV, and we both gonna eat the same food in the
That's
same
right.
house.
That's right.
So the stories might not be the same,
Exactly.
but it led us to the same place.
Like,
You know,
But see,
that
so
that's
makes
wisdom.
sense.
But
That makes
that's
sense.
wisdom. Where were you able to get through to him?
I was able to get through to him, but it's not realistically. You know, I'm God fearing. I
Yeah.
don't fear nobody but God.
Right.
So if I want to help you, some people I do kind, and some people I might not.
Hmm.
I didn't have a fight with my wife's son. Now
Okay.
we the best of friends.
Right.
But it took that challenge.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't hit him.
Right.
I showed him what I could do.
Right.
And he respected me more by knowing I see the work that you could have done on me,
Right.
but you didn't even touch me.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be violent,
That's right.
but when you speak, when you speak, what's it called? When you speak, what's it called when you have
Give us the phrase.
when you speak? Okay, you've been a school teacher, right?
Yeah.
What's it called?
With authority.
You have what? You have what?
Experience.
Experience.
Yeah.
When you speak with experience,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have experience from the streets.
Mhm.
I was 14, I was 15. Where you, I went to VA. I went to
That- yeah.
I went to state school.
Yeah.
Well, who your OG? I was locked up with him.
Wow.
When you say third ward, I was in third. I know all the third ward.
Right.
I know all the South Ward. I know all the
Sunshine.
Southwest.
Yeah.
No, I know all Acres Home. Well, how can you know all this? Because all the trouble people had to go through the places that I went through.
That's right.
Growing up.
Yeah.
Now some of them is your OG. You know, so I respect. I can go to any place and talk to most people to get them to understand that hey, we trying to do something for you. Because most people at our age now they ain't trying to be crazy
No.
no more.
Right.
And the
That's
people
right.
pop
That's
up
right. They've grown
bring
up.
that out of. We go to some of the OGs to come out and
Exactly.
share a peace moment. We have peace moments in the neighborhood. We get some of the rappers, we get the Harris County
Yes.
people to come out, and we come and we bring you a peace day, and then that's how you actually reach out to some of the people that actually need the help.
And the reason that I brought that up, I'm sorry, Crystal, but
Mhm.
the reason I brought that up because if you look at a lot of the youth now, they are much worse.
Mhm.
I'm talking in the streets.
Okay.
They will shoot you and put a bullet in
Before
you
they even say a word.
because you may have looked back at them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why is
Right.
that so different? Why is that
So
different
it's
these
it's
days?
so different, and I mean, I even hear the kids like it is so different. So I know there was a codes and different street codes and stuff like that. Those kids don't even abide by that no more. Like that's over.
They
and
shoot
done with.
first. Why do they shoot first?
So
Does nobody fight?
how are y'all combating? Because the rules of the streets and changed since y'all been in them.
Mhm.
So how do y'all combat that?
I let B start on this one.
They was 60, 70 years old. You can't. No matter what's going on right now, it's still people that need help.
That's right.
So I understand that it's a little bit worse and it's gonna get a little bit worse and down the line. But you gotta understand how we raise it through the music,
Yes.
through the
Yes.
kids, raising the kids,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and nobody wants to take accountability or responsibility for what they put in these kids' minds. You know,
Absolutely.
I always
Absolutely.
tell myself, let's go with the people that own 97.9 or own. When I was growing up, it was a certain time of night that they played Two Live Crew.
That's right.
After 10 o'clock.
That's right.
Or you counted in the mix.
That's right.
Now you glorifying what's not right for the kids if you stand keep them in rotation for the money.
Yeah.
It's not about raising the kids, it's all about the money.
And I want to add to that too because Russ had pointed this out to us when we worked at the county. There are no OGs, right? And so when the kids, I work for a national nonprofit. I was in a meeting, and the lady out of Washington D.C. said this. She said even when they locked up the shooters, she said the young kids who was becoming shooters didn't have nobody to teach them what and what not to do. So it's like if you locked up the warriors, in your tribe, the young warriors is coming up don't get that history because there's always going to be conflicts, right?
Right.
So one thing that we know in Houston, and I'm gonna speak to this specifically, and nobody follow me home. You got something to me the most intriguing. One of the most intriguing wars that we have is Sky Block in South Lawn, right?
That's still going on. That was going on when I was a teenager.
It was going on, but at one point, Houston had two of the top 10 most violent intersections in America.
Wow.
And TSU was the number, and this was 6 years ago. And TSU was the most violent college in America, right?
I
But
had no idea.
we sat in a class,
Not
and this class, they taught us you had this gang to start, and you had this particular gang to start. So I'm gonna call it gang one and gang two. You had these gangs that started. Gang one had 20 people, and gang two had 20 people. 20 people from gang one left, and 5 people from gang one left, and they went and formed gang three. Then these people over here went and formed gang four, 3 people. They end up getting 10, and then they went and formed. There is no structure, so they don't call them gangs anymore because gangs have structure, right? As much as we can say, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible. They have structures, they have codes.
Okay.
So now in the work that we do, they call them groups. We have to be able to be educated also on the way that
Click.
people are moving, groups and cliques,
Yeah.
because there's no structure. So I get mad at you because you didn't let me play the game. You didn't let me play the game. So now you didn't let me play the game. I go and get 15 of my homeboys and I form, don't let me play the game, click. So now we got don't let me play the game, click B. Don't let me play the game, click Chris.
And they bring all that to the schools. And it's
now
just
what are they
like,
doing? Because they don't have the structure, so they're just going back. They emotional. Being honest,
Very,
I don't
very
think we was that
emotional.
emotional coming up.
Very emotional.
They're very emotional. They have no structure, and then there aren't people there because some people aren't willing to put their life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, and Bill tell you, and this is my wife. There have been times where I say, man, I did not expect for me to be doing this.
Really?
We didn't come home for us to put our life on the line.
Yeah.
We came
Yeah.
home to assist
Yeah.
what we could.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with the work that you do, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So we also have to understand the trends that the streets are moving to. And if you don't, if you in the college, if you in the school, if you in law enforcement, and you're really not understanding the trends of the streets, you're doing administrative work. Nothing wrong with that. Do the administrative work,
Right.
but you're not doing this work on the ground.
Okay.
And that's the difficult thing that where a lot of people that's doing work on the ground around the country, that's where they're frustrated at because then you'll have somebody come from education and then they'll say, well, this is the trend. This is how we address this. This trend happened in the last 6 months. How you
Right.
going to address something that you have no idea about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to
and then
be
the
in tune,
kids
have
used
people
to
in
try
tune.
to educate me,
Yeah.
and I used to shut them down. I don't want to hear that shit. Like, but it's just. But then you would have to, now that I'm listening to you, I regret that I've even said that instead of just listening to what they have to say, because I felt like I was entertaining foolishness.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
let me say this, Brian. Are there many people that you grew up with who are no longer here?
That's gonna be funny. On this side. We have, I'm gonna say, a lot of us that go to work is different. And when I was in boot camp, we had a drill instructor, and we sat us down, and according to how he said us the other day, he told us that we was gonna make it enough. And believe it or not, the majority of people that he said weren't gonna make it enough.
Oh, wow.
So it's like when you 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever, you decide to go into what you was raised with. The most black people were
Raised right.
like,
Yeah.
and when you decide to go against that, I don't get it, but it's one thing being black, and then it's one thing to want to be in a group to make it even more harder for you to go to the other side of the track.
Yeah.
So as black people, we continue to make our steps hard because we don't have nothing else to do.
You
So,
know-
yeah, so there you go.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I'm looking at the time, and it is.
oh yeah,
it's-
oh my god. We could
Okay,
talk
but
about this
I'm
forever.
going to say this, Brian and Damien. can we say today that we're going to do a part two? Because we didn't even
Scratch the
touch we didn't even
surface.
and we didn't even touch on the ways that you all are moving this towards empowerment with the
Yeah.
woke money, movement and
The
the
big
other
party
things
we
that
got
you all are
going
doing.
Saturday. Yep. Yeah.
Yes, tell me about it.
So we have a cognitive justice international and woke money movement have combined to do a holiday party, just celebrating all the people that do the work. You have in Harris County, City, Houston, Fifth
Wow.
Ward, Third Ward, Sunnyside. You got the OGs gonna be there. You got people that's in the trenches.
Really?
You got
Wow.
survivors of violence, that people that have been shot, people that have lost family members are gonna be there.
Wow.
We have free food. My wife is cooking. We
Oh
have
my goodness.
woke money wine. So we got the woke money wine. We're gonna be there. So we have free drinks. We
Where's
are
this
doing it at a
located?
place.
Woke money has a wine.
Woke money has wine.
Wow.
So we're actually going to.
All right,
I don't know the
Richard.
location, but I'm gonna make sure I get you guys that. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yes.
But it's just something that we want to celebrate each other
Yes.
because we do the work and we coming out these holidays. We going into 25. We want to just celebrate each other.
And y'all
Come
still
out and
here.
celebrate it.
And
Richard, if you listening, drop. Let us know what a
Yes,
place is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And Damien, Ryan, I thank you all so much for coming. And but Damien didn't answer me. Damien,
Yes, part two.
okay, yes, we got to do a part. We got to do a
Yeah,
part
he
two.
definitely
Yes,
down.
but
We learned so much.
We-
The
we
teachers
did.
went to school
Every-
tonight.
every time. Okay. The party will be at Iconic Studios. That's at 6115 Skyline Drive, Suite C, Houston, Texas 77057. And we'll also drop it into the chat so that people can see that. Now, do they need to? Is there a fee? Do they need to?
RSVP.
Yes.
RSVP. Yeah.
Okay. So
Everything's free.
RSVP to who?
To the is you gonna drop it in the chat? I'll
Yes,
let you drop it in the chat.
Okay, that's what I'll do. But Damian Walker, Ryan Young, you all have blown our ears back.
No, the
Okay,
teachers
yes,
went to
you
school
have.
tonight.
Yes, the teachers went to school tonight.
For
But
sure.
it's so important that people out there, especially my students, I'm going to make sure that my students watch this podcast. They're only 13 and 14, but they need to see that people come out of this and they're trying to show you how not to have to do it the hard way. Yeah.
And then just really quick, I know we are pressed for time. Just
Yeah.
really quick.
Mm.
So do y'all go out? Because I'm going to share this with other teachers in our
Yes.
teacher group.
Yes.
So do y'all come out to different schools?
Yes.
And how
Do.
can
Yes.
we
Okay.
how can
Crystal, y'all guys have the information, so
Yes.
we actually train organizations, we train community. Paid is something that we do prefer because we do get paid. But however, we do a lot of volunteering. Most of our stuff is volunteering.
Right.
So we come out and we impart, but you have to give us access. Can't come in and you can't say, hey, this I need you to do it. Let's have that conversation.
Right.
You have to give us access to make the type of change that you say you want in your organization, your school district, or whatever. But give us access. We are professionals.
Excellent. I love it. Brian, Damien,
Yes.
thank you all so much. And guys, thank you so much for watching.
part two is on the way?
Part two is on the way. We're gonna get them back in here as soon as we can because we got the Rebecca and I actually now we have the hard questions we want to ask, and we know we got the right two guys who are gonna come correct and
Tell us the
basically
truth.
tell us the truth. I wasn't gonna say shoot from the hip, but we've been talking about
Change some of the
shooting. I
terms
know,
up.
but they're gonna tell us the truth. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. But before we say that, Rebecca, what do we always say?
We can
We can do it.
Bye,
See you
guys.
later.